David Macher, co-founder of DartConnect. Let me just start by saying thank you for bringing darts in every home in the world. And I think in pandemic times it was a huge opportunity for everybody to know about darts and to know about this platform. So in this way, what inspired you to co-found DartConnect, and what was the initial vision of the platform?
Well, I started playing darts in the mid-90s, and then later I started playing league competitive darts. And what I noticed was that sometimes people were intimidated by the game simply by the scoring. Not necessarily the throwing or even the strategy, but the scoring. And so then one year, Apple announced they had a special new product, and they introduced the iPad. And I immediately went, we'll never pick up a piece of chalk again. And I waited a year thinking somebody would start doing something like this, and they weren't doing it the way I envisioned it. So I quit my job and started to figure out how to make this work so that we could put down that chalk.
What were some of the biggest challenges in developing and launching DartConnect in the beginning?
There were certainly the programming challenges, especially back when we started. We originally launched in 2014, but we started several years before that. And the technology and the coding, HTML5 was brand new at the time, so we really pushed the limits of what was possible in those early days. But honestly, the biggest challenge was, which surprised us, was convincing players to put down the chalk. That's the way you play darts. You have to learn how to properly score and do it, and even if you made it easier and faster, there was a resistance because that's not part of the tradition. And it's interesting because when you think about darts, the dartboards have evolved tremendously compared even 30 years ago, and the dart technology continues to innovate. So it's interesting that there was this resistance to something that is almost a side part of darts. It's not the essential part, it's just keeping track of it. But as you said, especially with the pandemic, then online and play and the idea of keeping scores electronic made much more sense.
You did intrigue me about this subject. So we have the past, we have the old days of Eric Bristow in pubs and in throwing the nails and simple darts. We have the present, that we have DartConnect and everybody's connected. The name says DartConnect. And what about the future? What do you feel about very generic and
well, right now, one of the things and we knew this years ago, one of the things we're starting to talk about is, can we automate the scoring process so you don't even necessarily have to put it into a tablet? The great thing about the tablet is, or a phone, of course, is you can take that any place, anytime. So you're not reliant on a specific location or specific hardware. But as the self-scoring systems continue to evolve, we're looking at who we might partner with, because if you can have that in your home and play against somebody on DartConnect, but they don't have the same scoring system, they could still use their tablet. So again, how do we make it easier for people to connect, and it's not hardware dependent on one type of system or one type of manufacturer?
So in the future we can talk about artificial intelligence as well?
Oh, absolutely. That's not something I want to get into in this interview, but it will be a big part of helping people understand what's the strategy, right? Right now people have these ideas of how they throw best or how they should be throwing, and AI is going to help every player, not just the professional players, understand that better.
How has DartConnect evolved since its inception, and did you anticipate its widespread adoption in the darts world?
If you said that we would be filming this documentary in Romania in 2014, I would not have believed you. Candidly, the initial thought was just, how do we make the calculator function, if you will, as simple as possible so anyone can score. And that was really the intention. But as people started to see it and use it, they started bringing it to a tournament match. But it was just the scoring tab. It was literally replacing the chalkboard. And same thing with a league match. And people started saying, well, how come we can't use this for an entire tournament or our entire league? And so that had us change our focus from just the scoring app to all the back end, which is much more complicated and more robust than even the scoring app. So now people can play leagues and tournaments online, in person, and all the results happen instantly, as opposed to in leagues when I started, you would have to wait a week to see whether your team moved up or moved down. Now, by the time you get home from the pub, you already know. So this is the basic DartConnect scoring app. And as I mentioned before, the idea is to get more people to play more often. And one of the advantages we have is the ability to create an instant handicap so that if two players of unequal levels are playing, we can set this up and now they've got a leveling match. So again, you don't have to always be perfectly matched with the person you're playing with. And then you can simply put in your score. That's more of how I play. A better player would probably do that, right? But again, if you struggle with the math, it's not a problem because you can say 14 times 3 plus 9 and you've got your score. So we make it as simple as possible. Take the scoring part out of the way. If you choose to pursue a better level or higher level of competition, then you'll learn all this math, but let's not let that prevent people from beginning the game. The next thing I want to share with you is the DartConnect TV, and this is what people at home and around the world can watch. So here we are at the Romanian Open, and we can scroll through and see all the live matches that are happening on the floor right now. And by just clicking on one match, right, we can log in and literally see a replica of their tablet and see who's winning. And right now it appears that Saidar is up 2-0. So he's got a definite advantage over Owen. But Owen's got a chance here to make a comeback. Will he do it? No. Saidar's on the checkout. Will he do it? Yes! With the first dart. Game over. So here's an example where we're getting towards the end of a leg, and DartConnect has the option of showing the player or the marker what a potential checkout is, in this case with 3 darts. But if they don't throw this combination and they know where they end, because they're doing the math in their head, and they know they're ending up on a 40, they can simply do 4-0 and swap the score, and it's automatic for them. So that's a big part of what we try to do. We spend a lot of time, 6 months in the early days of this, just trying to figure out how do we make it as accessible for every level of player and just speed up the scoring. So if you struggle with the math, you can use the calculator. If you can do it all in your head, make it as quickly as possible to put it into the system.
And you can watch also other players or friends, even abroad.
So we just recently completed, we have a very close working relationship with the PDC, Professional Dart Corporation, and every January they have their qualifying school. And over 800 players compete to see if they can get into the PDC Pro Tour. And that is our biggest event every year as everyone watches their friends, family, teammates try to compete for that golden ticket. So it's quite challenging to support that event every year because it's people from all over the globe. I will tell you this, it's funny, when we first started, people had a lot of doubt about watching an online match where you could not see the player, right? And you're just seeing the scores. But it's amazing, we get feedback all the time, the tension that can be, like, what's the next score, what's the next score? And the celebration when it works out.
How has DartConnect changed the way players, leagues, and tournament organize interact with the game? You did say something about this earlier in the latest question, but as a phenomenon.
Yeah. Well, our mission is to get more people to play more darts more often, right? And I think there's proof that we have certainly contributed to that, if not been the initial, new wave of players coming into the game. Obviously, the younger generation is all used to digital. They do everything on their phone, right? But the fact that now, again, results happen faster. You could sit in your room right now, are we at the Romanian Open? Yes, okay, just making sure for the documentary. You can sit in your hotel room and watch your friends play or determine when you're gonna play. So no longer does everybody have to be waiting in a huddle to see what's happening. So it's really just making the game more accessible to more people. We've taken away that intimidation factor. And we always talk about the players, but if you were to talk to any of the tournament staff or league operators, we've made their life loads easier, right? No longer are these big complicated spreadsheets and trying to handle all these requests and things. Things are, when they get home, things are automatically updated.
As a matter of numbers, do you remember how many players were in the beginning and how many players are right now? in our time
Well, right now,
using the platform?
yeah, right now there's over 200,000 registered members in DartConnect, and of course many players using it here who have yet to register because they're new to it or trying to find out more about it, right? But I think it took us a year to get that first 1,000 players, and they were definitely the pioneers, taking a chance to see if they could make this work. But they would, I'll tell you what, at the early tournaments, they would bring their own tablets from home and go from match to match. They didn't walk in and have tablets already on the board. So they were the early adopters and very enthusiastic, and we're forever grateful to them.
How has DartConnect improved the experience for amateur players, and how does it help them improve their games?
Well, one of the early things we did on a very light level is we put in a training bot so you could play against the computer. So really, when you pull back, what we started to think about is what prevents people before DartConnect from playing darts more often. One is you can't find a partner. So how do you solve that? Well, you either play in a solo mode, you play against the computer, or you play someone online. So already you can play more often, not just practicing throwing like the 20, right? So that's the most important thing. But again, when it comes to the scoring, some people are very comfortable with the math and they're going to figure out their outs. But DartConnect has a built-in suggested out chart, right? So how do you learn those, right? Do you just need some hints, or do you say, no, that's not for me. I want to be a social player, but I don't want to keep mastering that level of darts to keep me from playing.
Do you see it become the standards for all tournaments in the professional darts?
Absolutely. Well, it's already, since 2018, it's been the standard for the Professional Dart Corporation, as all their tournaments and their affiliates tournaments, including PDC Asia, the Champion Dart Circuit in the United States, and Dart Players Australia, just as to name a few of the affiliates that are already using it.
DartConnect connected people all over the world. How do you feel in this way it's working as a tool in the idea of diversity and inclusion?
Well, I think if you take it just from a geographic perspective, right, before you could play online darts, you basically played at your pub or in your greater city area. Maybe you would drive an hour, right? But now you can literally play steel-tip darts against anyone in the world, right? Of any skill level. So as far as connecting people and including people, one of the advantages of playing online is there's no categories besides skill level. So it's very inclusive.
So David quit his job to pursue this dream in DartConnect. What did David do before DartConnect?
I've always been in sales and marketing, and I was in the data industry, and that's what gave me the perspective of thinking about what we used to call data silos, and we still call them data silos, because I thought about this when I went to my league night, my performance was there. When I met with a friend at a pub, my performance was there. If I practice at home with a little computer, mechanical score, my performance is there. How did I perform overall? And same thing with going to a tournament. But now with the DartConnect player dashboard, I can see where I play better. Was it when I'm under pressure, or is it when I've got an audience? I don't play nearly as well. So we provide that viewpoint by consolidating that. And again, that's the advantage that will always be with the DartConnect. It doesn't matter what hardware you have. You can always have it with you wherever you're playing at whatever level.